Hey everybody, John Drew here, Maryland K-12, talking about a specific part of the Chris Papst Fox 45 Failure Factory book. He talks about grade changing, the whole grade changing scandal, as they call it. This has been going on a long time, maybe certainly not to the extent of what he uncovered, and certainly maybe not as overt as what he uncovered. But this is something that goes on in education, like it or not. You know, kid comes up, he's got a 58, 59, and if he fails this class, he's going to fail the year. You know, what do you do? But it kind of went beyond that, and then they started forcing them. And the reason is because schools are generally held accountable to, they're not really, nobody's held accountable on anything, but they're generally ranked according to, or not ranked, but they are rewarded, or they are recognized, I guess you could say, based on a couple of things. And one of the big one is graduation rate. So if you're failing kids, your graduation rate goes down. So they will do anything to get those kids across that stage. And they get a lot of pressure from above. And the one place where they can't manipulate is the state testing, because there's so many controls over that. And I could, any testing coordinator can give you the details on that. But based on that, they can't control that, and that's significantly lower. But as far as grade changing goes, as an administrator, I faced that issue many times. I never told a teacher to change a grade, but I did speak with this teacher. Occasionally, I would have to make sure the teacher understood that this is the effect of what's going to have if this kid fails your class. If this kid fails, he's probably going to fail for the year. If you're good with that, then that's fine. We'll support you, but let's make sure that we are in a line. Let's make sure the parents have been notified. You know, let's make sure that you have the necessary documentation when you get challenged, because you will probably get challenged. So there's a lot of that. But then you also have to look at this from an administrative point of view. What are you going to do when all these kids fail, right? Think of yourself as the principal. You get a report that says you have 8th grade students in here and 50% of them are going to fail. Are you going to fail 50% of your kids? So, you know, at the end of the year is not the time to have that discussion, right? The time to have that discussion is throughout the year. If they just started failing kids left and right, it would be a real mess. And you could even think about how that might play out. And also consider that some of these kids, they just come to school. They could care less about being in school. They're there because they're under threat of imprisonment of their parents. They come in, they sit down, they go to sleep. They don't do anything. They refuse to do anything you put in front of them. And I know that you hear is, you know, you gotta build a relationship, and you gotta, you know, blah, 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 you know, all that. I get all that, and teachers get all that, but there are many kids who you can do anything, and they have no interest in being there. Do you fail these kids? The hardcore would say absolutely fail them. They came, they did nothing, they deserve to fail. But then what happens at the end of the year when half the kids are failing? And then, you know, you're gonna have half your 8th grade repeat, or you're gonna have half your senior class not graduate. There's a lot to be said. I don't have the answer for it, but it's just a lot more to it than teachers changing grades. It's a very in-depth issue, and I'm sure any administrator will tell you this. The most difficult decision they have to make is to whether or not to pass a kid, or whether or not to fail a kid, because the research, and this is what they cling to, the research is very clear, and that is, if a kid fails one time, I can't remember the number, you're cutting his chances of graduating by like 50%. 50% of the kids who are withheld once do not graduate, and if they get withheld twice, you're talking about 90-some%. So you are almost but guaranteeing this child is not going to graduate. If he's in the 3rd grade and you don't promote him to the 4th, and you know, you do that 2 times, he's probably not going to graduate. Anyway, it's a very difficult situation. So I hope this helps, but the answer is not to just, you know, change the grades and push them on, because that's how the school system is designed. The school system is designed to just not push, but it's the system is designed for every kid to go through a different grade each year. It's not built to have kids who don't move on, because if a huge number of kids don't move on, that will stress the system and to a breaking point. So we don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of angles to that. I don't have the answer. So we'll see. Anyway, I hope this helps. But anyway, Failure Factory by Chris Papst. I highly recommend it. Thanks. Have a great day.